Inside this suitcase is the gear that I took with me on a 6-day backpacking trip to South Carolina. I will show you exactly how I packed it for airline travel and also show you the 2 items I mistakenly brought with me on the plane that are prohibited. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jason. Thanks for joining me. So as I said, I just returned from a backpacking trip in South Carolina. I hiked 120 miles on the Palmetto Trail, and I flew on this trip from Ohio, and I returned last night, actually early morning at 1 a.m. and I have not even had a chance to look at my backpack or unpack my bag. So I want to show you guys exactly what I took on this 120 mile backpacking trip, and also 2 items that I accidentally packed in my pack that should not have been on the airplane. All right, let's get my backpack out and I'll show you exactly what I took on this trip. Okay, I realize there's a lot of different ways to take your backpacking gear on a plane. I like to use a suitcase and put everything in there that I'm going to be taking with me on the trail. But I also carry a little day pack with me with some essentials to have with me in the airport and on the airplane. All right, we're just going to unpack this and I'll show you what I got here. So this is just a bag of extra clean clothes that I changed into after my trip. I ended at a state park in South Carolina, took a quick shower, and had my clean clothes in a plastic bag. Here are the clothes that I was wearing on the final day of the trail. Actually, the entire 6 days I was on trail. Those clothes are in this bag, sealed off to keep the nastiness away from everything else. I used the Ultra Lone Peak 6s on this hike, and I kept the little cardboard inserts that come with the shoes when you buy them new. Probably not necessary, but I put them in there to keep the shoes from getting smashed and crushed inside the suitcase when things shift around on the plane. By the way, I really liked the Lone Peak 6s. So comfortable and roomy. I mean, it's probably my favorite shoe, other than not having the thick enough stack height that I like on the Ultra Olympus 4s. I did notice my feet getting sore after about 15 miles each day, but other than that, fabulous pair of shoes. Down the bottom of the backpack are my trekking poles, the Fezon Compact 3s, I think that's what they're called. Supposedly the world's lightest aluminum trekking pole at like 158 grams. All right, and the final item in my pack, in the suitcase, is my backpack. So I got a couple empty water bottles in here. I dumped the water out before I put them in the suitcase, before checking my bag. All right, let's get the suitcase out of the way. Oh, there's a couple other items in here. This, I had this out and I just forgot to put it back in my pack. It's my RAV Power 20,000 milliamp power bank. And my Platypus Quick Draw, I think that's what it's called. I always forget. If that's the wrong name, I'll put it up on the screen. And my Mavic Mini. I didn't carry it in this container in my backpack. I actually had it in this waterproof bag. So I would carry the drone and the remote in this waterproof bag. But during traveling on the airplane, I wanted it to be more protected in a heavier case like this. So it worked great. It fits in there perfect. And that is everything that was in the suitcase. Now let's dig into the pack. I'll show you exactly what I used on this trek. All right, let's get the things on the outsides off first. Z-Packs Duplex. Absolutely love this tent. I thought about tarp camping on this trip, but at the last minute I decided against it, and I'm glad I did. I just like the comforts of being inside a tent and be able to spread all my gear and food out at the end of the day or in the morning getting ready to start the day off, and not having to worry about anything getting lost in the leaves. And if there's a rainstorm, I feel better, more protected in the tent. And obviously from insects and spiders and snakes, which this time of year on the Palmetto Trail, I don't think I saw any bugs whatsoever. So probably could have got away with tarp camping just fine, but I still always go back to the Duplex, it seems like, on every trip. All right, the rest of the things on the outside, my Garmin Inreach Mini wasn't really necessary because I had a signal the entire time, at least a good enough signal for texting. Some Noon tablets, some salt tablets. These are like a lemon lime salt tab chews. And I really didn't need these that often, but on days when it was hot and I was sweating, I did take a couple of them. My Nightcore NU25 headlamp. I only had to charge the thing one time. I probably could have got by the whole 6 days without even charging it because I did not do any night hiking. A buff. That is everything on the outside of the pack. Now in the back pocket here, poop trowel. My Helium 2 rain jacket, which I only had to wear for maybe 3 hours on the whole 6 days. Chamois cloth for drying off the inside and outside of the Duplex. Sometimes that's needed when there's condensation or maybe a light rain one day. I had to use this to dry off the tent and it works fabulous. My tent stakes, I think these are just the MSR groundhogs. I got 2 different kinds in there for the Duplex. Z-Packs rain kilt, rain skirt, whatever it's called. I did wear that for a couple hours on that rainy day. I did not use this at all. The Canuck or Canuck, however you say it, water bag. I got by with the 2 water bottles. A couple times I did buy some water bottles at a gas station because I did have a couple long walks without water and this wasn't quite enough. So I think one day I had 4 bottles with me in my pack. Now you probably can't see it, but I am loaded down with, yeah, you can't see it, 2 water bottles on both sides. So I can make it through the night with the water I am carrying. But it is a heavy load to carry. And if I would have used that Canuck bag, I probably could have got by without buying water if there would have been a good water source along the way. Bear hanging rucksack, I did not use that. I never really checked to see if there was bears on the Palmetto Trail. I wasn't really worried about it. I just slept with my food bag in my tent. And that is everything. This is the bottom cap to the platypus. I'm telling you, this thing is amazing. The water flow is probably faster than the Sawyer squeeze, and I like how it's just a really durable build. I love how you can cap it off at both ends. It's not going to leak or drip on you whatsoever, and you can throw it in the footbox of your quilt when it's going to freeze outside. And I did have 2 nights that got down to 30 degrees, and I threw this in my footbox of my quilt. All right, let's dig in here to the inside of the pack. By the way, this is the Light AF Curve 35. I love this pack. It's just starting to get some minor little tears where the webbing strap, kind of like the waist hip belt, attaches to the pack. Because I've had this loaded down pretty heavy in the past, and it's just, you can see that right there, it's starting to tear. I only use this little fanny pack for carrying my camera. Sometimes I put snacks up in the front here in the mesh pocket. All right, inside, instead of using my foam pad, I can't remember the name of it, I decided to use my Nemo Tensor regular wide. And I had to blow the thing up 4 or 5 times every night because it has a little leak in it somewhere. I have 7 patches on this thing. I know some of you guys have had no issues with your Nemo pads, but I'm telling you, I get leaks every other backpacking trip, and I don't know how. I think it's time for a new one. This is going to be patch number 8. My cook kit, and here inside the cook kit is what I traveled with on the plane that I should not have done. I know this is a no-no. The BRS 3000 stove, lighter, little wind shroud. There it is. I cannot believe I forgot to take this out. I mean, it's a third full still. They obviously don't check bags coming through the TSA check area on checked luggage very closely, because I think they would have seen this if they did. I feel really terrible that I travel with this in my pack on my checked luggage, because I know that's a no-no. It's a prohibited item. I mean, it's spelled out plain and simple on any website you look at about things you can travel with. You can use, you know, if you're using a cat can stove and you just have like your fuel in a bottle like this, as long as it's empty and it's not supposed to smell of any fumes, you can travel with them, and then you just have to buy your fuel when you arrive at your destination. But yeah, I'm very surprised this made it through. I should have known better. Now, I didn't travel down with it because I was thinking about that ahead of time, and my trail angel, Marie Butler, my shuttle, she picked this up for me and had it there for me waiting when I arrived. All right. Food bag. I started with 7 pounds of food for a 6-day trip. I ate out 3 times on trail, so I accounted for that, but I still ended up with quite a bit of leftovers. And you think I'd learn my lesson about keeping my food bag light. All right, this is half of my dirty clothes and my fleece and a couple extra change of socks. This worked out pretty good as my pillow, but on the cold nights when I was wearing most of my layers, I didn't have much in here except a couple pairs of socks and an extra t-shirt, so I didn't really have much of a pillow. I wish I would have brought my Nemo pillow for sure, because I was kind of uncomfortable. And the final item in here, my Enlightened equipment Revelation top quilt 20 degree. And I've mentioned this numerous times in the past. This thing does not keep me warm if it gets below 35. The comfort rating on my 20 degree Enlightened equipment Revelation in my mind is 35 degrees. Maybe 32 if you're layered up. If it gets below 30 degrees, I wake up numerous times throughout the night from being cold. I wish I had a 10 or 15 degree quilt. Maybe I'm a cold sleeper, I don't know. I almost forgot. I have several things in my carry-on bag that I failed to mention. My camera tripod, my electronics bag, which has extra camera batteries, charging cables, and SD cards, and finally my Diddy Bag or toiletry bag. And I don't know why I decided to put this in my carry-on for the flight home, because I usually have it in my checked luggage, because there's an item in here that is not allowed to be flown with. So they pulled my pack aside when I went through TSA, and they brought it over to the table. They started digging through here and could not find what it was. So they took it back through the scanner a second time and figured out that it was indeed in this little Dyneema bag. So they proceeded to dump everything out and try to figure out what it was. And in the very bottom, there was an item in here that is not allowed to be flown with. And I'll show you what it is here in a second. But I had the option to leave it with the TSA agent or have it mailed back to myself. And at first I said, you know what? It's not that important of an item. It's not that expensive. Just take it. It's not worth the hassle. But then after thinking about it for a minute, while I was putting everything back in the bag, I realized I had like 3 hours before my flight. I was like, all right, let's just mail it back to myself. So he escorted me, the TSA agent escorted me to the postal area of the airport, and I mailed back this item to myself. I just received it in the mail yesterday. It cost me $4.80 to mail it back, so I think it was worth it. Let's take a look. There it is. My Leatherman knife multi-tool, which I use often on the trail for cutting Luco tape, and I think it's just important to have a knife with you on the trail. So that is the second item that I traveled with that is prohibited to fly with on airplanes. Next time I'll make sure to check my toiletry bag with my suitcase when flying. Alrighty folks, there you have it. Everything I took with me on my backpacking trip along the Palmetto Trail. I'm really looking forward to getting started on editing this footage, and we'll hopefully have a trip video out for you guys here in the next few weeks. So what is something that maybe you travel with that was a prohibited item that you got away with? Or what is something maybe you left at home because you weren't sure how to travel with it? Drop me a comment down below. I'd love to check those out. And also, if you have any comments or questions, concerns or suggestions about the gear I used on this backpacking trip, let me know down in the comments. I love interacting with my subscribers in the comment section, and I'll get back with you as soon as I possibly can. All right, that's everything, and we'll see you in the next video.